Landscaping. Liz, today we have a question from one of our viewers that says, I noticed that one of my shrubs have different colored leaves on them. I thought they were all supposed to be green and white, but some leaves are all green. What is happening?
Well, oftentimes we see this, and I've gotten this question a couple of times this week, a lot of variegated plants, which means that the leaves have two different colors. And sometimes those are green and white, sometimes they're green and gold, but those plants are bred to have that quality for ornamental purposes. But a lot of times the straight species of a plant will be just plain green, and over time they breed them to have those characteristics. So oftentimes you'll see a little shoot that comes out that reverts to that parentage, and so where most of the leaves on the plant are that two color combination, sometimes the leaves come out just green. The first photos that I'm showing is a plant called euonymus, and it's an evergreen plant that can be used either as a small shrub or as a ground cover. It actually can climb too, so it's a very versatile plant, and we used to use it quite a bit, but there's a few different insects disease issues that can get, and also the deer have been munching it, so we haven't been using it as much, but that plant has kind of been always notorious for reverting back to that natural state. So in the photos that I'm showing, this is a green and yellow variety, and you'll see that there has been some sports that came out of that are both all yellow, and then there's some that are all green, and then most of the leaves are kind of a mix of that. So what you want to do is, it's not going to hurt the plant or anything, but you want to reach down into the plant and snip out any of those that are one solid color or the other, so that you're just leaving what is variegated left.
Okay.
And the reason for that is sometimes when it reverts like that, that portion can kind of take over the plant, and so over time you're going to get more growth that's a solid color like that, and you're going to lose some of the growth that's variegated. So it's just kind of a maintenance thing that you need to do with some of those types of plants. But it's not just euonymus that does that. Kind of anything that has those variegated leaves is kind of subject to that, perhaps. So the next plant that I'm showing is a type of deutzia, which blooms kind of late spring. It gets a little white flower on it, but you can see there too that that's a green leaf that's kind of edged in white. And then there's some of that plain green that's coming up in there. So once again, you can just kind of reach in there and snip out that just comes in green. And the last photo that I'm showing is, again, a similar plant that is called Cool Splash Villa, which is actually a dwarf form of honeysuckle, so that's getting ready to bloom right now. But this has actually got quite a bit of that green that came up in it. These actually came into us for a job, and I'm going to be sending them back because I'm not confident that variegation will outcompete the parentage that's kind of coming out through that. So if you just get a couple of sprigs, it's easy to clip it out, and as long as you do that from the beginning, then it's easy to control it. But when you get a large portion of the leaves that revert like that, that's when it kind of becomes a bigger task to kind of keep it variegated.
Gotcha. Well, thank you so much, Liz, for these tips. As always, we appreciate you joining us here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm Liz Snyder, your home gardener from Hillside Garden Landscape.